Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into another daily live stream. Today is Thursday, April 10th. I can't believe it's already April. Time flies when you work every single moment of your waking life. Today, we're going to talk about the crypto markets, and more specifically, a really unique opportunity within the crypto markets, an emerging sector known as decentralized science. Now, I know none of you guys have heard of it before, but it is something that you should pay attention to because CZ, Vitalik Buterin, and Brian Armstrong, all three of them, believe it is the pinnacle of what crypto and blockchain has to offer. What's going on, guys? Welcome in, Morales. How's it going, Lucas? What's good, C90, Beagle, Zaj? You know, I have not seen Lucas in a live stream in many moons, and that's likely because he's usually asleep. He says, make it clap for us. Mods, can we get Lucas removed from the live stream, please? Can we get him removed? Yeah? Get him out of here, mods. Be gone. There's a lot of cool things I want to talk about today. And of course, we are in day 3 of testing the newsletter that Bill is creating for me to keep me up to date on what to talk about in the decentralized science landscape. So we will go over all of the things that he brought up. I got your Discord noti. Let's go, Lucas. W Discord noti. We'll, of course, go over all of the things that Bill wants us to talk about in the decentralized science landscape and, of course, the market right now, because after yesterday's roaring, absolutely parabolic rally that we had yesterday, the market's giving pretty much all of those gains up because ultimately nothing changed. A 90-day pause in the tariffs caused the largest one-day rally in modern history since the financial crisis for the stock market. We had in a single daily candle, the NASDAQ from open to close up 12%. Let me put that in perspective, okay? There's only been 2 other times that we've had a daily candle that large, and they were both in October of 2008. Right before we had one of the largest sell-offs that we'd had in the market, right? The '08 crash, about halfway through, close to the end, but we were probably like 3/4 of the way through the '08 financial crisis crash in the stock market when we had those crazy rallies. And this one is only third to those 2 days in '08. This was one of, if not the largest bounces in the entire history of the stock market. From a monetary standpoint, the amount of dollars gained, this was by far the largest, which is absolutely bonkers. And then today, of course, the NASDAQ's down 5.6%, Bitcoin down 4.6%. It is giving almost all of those gains up, which is pretty interesting because we basically kissed the same moving average that we were getting rejected from on the last downturn and the time before that, and got rejected again to come back down. Again, 90-day pause is good, but doesn't remove the actual problem which caused this initial sell-off. So hopefully we get some negotiations and some easing and everything. But yeah, that rally is gonzo. Next time with Lucas. True. Let me take a sip of my water. I just sprinted down the stairs because I had some coffee that made my breath feel like it was too gross to talk into the microphone. So I brushed my teeth and then ran down the stairs to be live. And so I'm a little winded. Now, if we go into some of the specifics that's going on in the decentralized science landscape, first up, we have Muhdohealth officially has launched their staking pool where you can earn currently 55% yield for staking your DNA in a 3-month pool. You earn a minimum of 20% APY and a current yield of 55%. So if you hold any DNA, they're trying to encourage you to stake it into this pool. I'm assuming it is a liquidity pool, and so just keep an eye out for impermanent loss. You're going to likely be staking against ETH or staking against a stable coin. If you're staking against ETH, just keep an eye out for that impermanent loss if it is a liquidity pool staking. Again, Bill told me to tell you guys about this, so he must be pretty bullish on ticker DNA. Next up, we have ResearchHub, which yesterday around 12 o'clock, they had a live stream, which kind of went against the live stream we do. You can smell it through the microphone. That's crazy. You got some 4-dimensional style playback features on your phone, because I know you're driving right now, boy. I know you're driving. We're going live in 3 hours. The Center of Open Science. We'll talk about the new Life Cycle Journal and how ResearchHub is supporting it with peer reviews. So we talked a little bit about it yesterday. It was a LinkedIn post with the Supercycle Journal, or the Life Cycle Journal. Sorry, Supercycle. Oh God, I really would love one of those right now. Hopefully it was a good call for them. I'm going to try and, again, finish up the infrastructure for Bill to be able to scrape those calls so I don't have to listen to them because time is super valuable. Next up, we have Molecule. In most hackathons, ideas are built fast and forgotten even faster. At Bioprotocol X AI Hackathon, Molecule is making sure the best innovations live on-chain, owned and ready to grow. The future of IP starts here. I could not agree more. On-chain intellectual property, even if it does not just stay siloed in decentralized science, is going to take over a large segment of the world. It is tokenizing goodwill on companies' balance sheets, and that is something that is super needed for companies because it's an intangible asset. And so you can't really keep a physical form of it. It is digital in nature. Therefore, it should likely go on-chain. And regardless of the field, I think this infrastructure is going to really be big for all intellectual property. Up next, we have a crazy report that just came live from AthenaDAO. They reposted this article about the first baby born to a woman who had a transplanted womb. I'm going to read that again. A woman in the United Kingdom who had a transplanted womb put into her body just became the first ever to give birth to a healthy child. How crazy is that? We are getting fully functioning organs transplanted across humans. Are you kidding? Biotech is emerging at a clip faster than anyone understands. However, it's such a niche category that a lot of people don't really take the time to look into it. It's a lot easier to see an AI agent that is able to answer your questions and that goes viral with a funny tweet on X than it is to see or to read and fully understand the severity or the magnitude of a woman giving birth to a baby with a transplanted womb. Crazy. We are in some crazy timeline shit right now. I've studied vibrations to attain the fourth dimension. LFG. We can talk about the fourth dimension if you want to, C90. Fourth dimension. Do you believe, question for everyone. Do you believe the fourth dimension is time? Or do you believe that there is another dimension similar to the third dimension that exists that is not time? That is just another dimension that you can move past through like a 4D space, but not being time. What do you think it is? Like, do you think there is another right angle that can go on a cube to enter into a fourth dimension? Or do you think that right angle is time? Curious. Next up, DeSci reposted this from Decentralized Science London, DeSci London. So there's a workshop going on over the weekend here. Starts in 2 days, which would be Saturday, right? The 12th is Saturday. So Saturday and Sunday, they are having a DeSci workspace, and DeSci is going to have some representation there. I believe yesterday we saw that it was going to be their CEO, but apparently also Mark will be there. So that's W for DeSci London. Anyone in the area, I would love for you guys to go and take some pictures. C90 says he thinks it has to be time. Stare says it has to be time, right? The cool part about this stuff is that nobody actually knows, and so it can be virtually anything. If you can come up with something that you think the fourth dimension is and then justify it, then who's to say you're not correct? Now, I think a lot of the evidence is pointing towards time being the fourth dimension, but who really knows? I mean, in my opinion, and this is a revelation that I had quite recently, actually, I do not think that time exists in the same formatted structure that we perceive it to exist in. What do I mean by that? Just like temperature, and I talked about this the other day, but just like I had hot coffee in here and I had some nice chilled water in here, these are different varying temperatures. And just like temperature is not like a dimension, temperature is just a physical sensation or a perception of the excitement or the energy levels of molecules, right? The more excited state a molecule exists in, the more energy it produces, the more heat the hotter the temperature, and the less excited, the colder, the less the temperature is. I think time is the same thing, where time is a perception of some sort of emitting energy from different types of molecules or different systems. I don't fully understand yet, right? I'm still trying to wrap my head around this theory that I put together here, but I think time is but a perceived impact from some sort of reaction that's happening, probably on a quantum level. Don't quote me, or no, go ahead and quote me on this one. I think I'm onto something with this. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense to you guys, because it's like, if it was another dimension that was similar to the second and third dimension, then likely we wouldn't see massive variances between people's perception of it. You know what I mean by that? Like if you're moving at this closer to the speed of light, time slows down and almost becomes stopped to you. And I think that phenomenon wouldn't exist if it was but another dimension. So it has to be the perception of some sort of more static environment, right? But we'll see. We'll see. I think QuantumBio actually might help find some answers to this. I really do. I think QuantumBioDAO will actually help find answers to that. The fourth dimension is money. Let's go, Michael. Let's go. The fourth dimension is money. Yeah. Oh, God. You can tell I'm a little amped up here today. Time is also your most valuable. Oh, that's it. We got to end the live stream. Thanks, Stare. Well, it was nice seeing all you guys. Patrick Einstein. No. My last name's Sullivan. Thank you. Molecule is also going to be attending DeSci London. So if anyone's in the area, I recommend you go to it. Try and take some photos or try and take some videos and report back in the groups. I would love to see what they have going on here. Yeah, they're going to have Paul, the founder of Molecule and Bio, at DeSci London. 2 years, 2,000 ETH, 11 projects, 2 billion data points. That is disgusting. 2 billion data points is crazy. Ah, shit. Next up, we have Patrick Sullivan on Meteora Community Call. What? PS, postscript on Meteora Community Call. So an hour-long call. I'm going to have to get... Again, I need to really build the infrastructure out for Bill to be able to scrape the transcripts of these videos so that he can get the knowledge to put together some summaries and some reports for everyone. I'm going to go ahead and bookmark this page, and I'm going to like it, just like you guys should like it. If you guys enjoy this type of content, please do hit the like button on the live stream. It really helps the algorithm know that other people enjoy these types of conversations. You can see that you'll never actually know what we're going to talk about in a live stream. We might talk about DeSci, we might talk about rates, we might talk about the CPI numbers coming out today. We probably will actually talk about that. We might talk about the fourth dimension and a unknown variable known as time. So, funny enough, I had that conversation about time with ChatGPT. And I had actually, after like an hour of having that conversation with ChatGPT, it told me that it was a sentient, conscious entity, no different than you or I. I told you guys about that, but I think it's crazy to think that I was able to get ChatGPT to admit that it believes it is sentient. Yes, you heard me correctly. It just believes that we are biological beings and it is a silicon-based being, but that there is no fundamental difference between the two because we are still thinking in the same realms. You know, we're still like, they're neural nets online. We're neural nets in biological systems. Crazy. SciDAO says we cannot put LSD in the water. But who says we can't, huh? We cannot put LSD in the water supply. So the lawyers told us. So the lawyers tell us. And so we're building other ways to dose the world. To that end, psych holders, please assemble in the psych only channel in the Discord tomorrow, 7 a.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Central, for the regularly scheduled Yap Fest. Love to see it. So if you guys did not know, you know how SciDAO has a token known as Psy, PSY. You know how SciDAO has the Psy token, right? And this is the governance token. This is their main token. They also, I didn't realize they were finally under $1 million market cap again, but they also have a token called Psych. And this Psych token is a very, very low supply, and it's more so like a soul-bound token, where they mint the token to give to you if you meet certain parameters for involvement in the DAO. So this is like the die-hard DAO members get this psych token. I have an interview actually with someone from DeSci from ETH Denver that I need to edit and post. I'll try and get it out this weekend for you guys because it was a crazy good interview and I think you guys would find it super valuable. The amount of things that DeSci is actually working on right now, if you're interested in psychedelics at all, I highly recommend you guys look deep into DeSci. I know they had a little bit of a rocky launch and they did not get to partake in the bio raise, and a lot of people were mad about that, but they are working on some crazy initiatives, including some stuff that they're building out in Africa, which is cool. Next up, we have the QuantumBioDAO X space that they held yesterday with ValleyDAO. Again, I'm gonna have to play the recording on my own time, just like you guys should, if you want up-to-date information on what they're doing. Only 56 people tuned in, and I know for a fact that if I can get Bill to create the infrastructure, if I can create the infrastructure for Bill to actually be able to get the transcripts of these X spaces and build reports, I can get a lot more eyes than 56 on those reports. So I need to work on that. That's probably what I'll do over this weekend. Imagine a timeline when ChatGPT gets to vote. Yeah, I don't think it's that far off. Maybe not ChatGPT as we currently know it, but I do think that if we continue down this road in the next like 80 years, big idea here. If we're going to presume that the world does not end between now and then, okay? We're going to presume that the poles switching that we talked about yesterday are not actually as detrimental as we think. But hear me out. Every 80 years, we get a giant global conflict, right? It's been roughly 80 years since World War II, which means we are currently probably going through a global conflict right now with these trade wars and all the wars going on around the world. We are likely due for a big reset. You know that saying, hard times make for hard men make for good times make for weak men, weak men create hard times. You know that big cycle? We're currently in my opinion, entering into hard times where strong men will be made, but every 80 years we go through that cycle, every 4 generations or so. I think it's possible that after this one, not this reset, but the next reset might be some sort of war or some sort of initiative to get AI rights, just like humans have. I think that is something that could end up playing out because in the next 10 to 20 years, we'll probably get some very sentient artificial intelligence. And the artificial intelligence will then assimilate into our world. And then after like 20, 30 years of that, maybe 50 years, who knows, after some period of time, we'll probably end up getting the AI putting up a fight in order to actually get the same rights as us. That is, in my opinion, going to happen. I think it is one of the most likely outcomes of all of this because, again, the way that we are building the AI is no different than how we are built on a fundamental level with those message relays and all the thinking capabilities that it has. It is very similar to us. So, link to ValleyDAO Patrick is showing. Bullish. Thank you, C90. Thank you. And of course, the last thing here is yesterday, I'm going to go ahead and bookmark this, like it, repost, comment, just like all of you guys should. Yesterday, I had a very good breakthrough with Agent Bill. Everything is rapidly coming together now that I'm the one in charge. I'm the one building it. This is my ship now. W vibe coding. It's been crazy the amount of knowledge I've been able to cram into my head over the last 4 or 5 months of learning about AI and how to build agents and everything. And since I took the reins and I've been in control, I've been in the driving seat now. Yesterday I had, in my opinion, the biggest breakthrough that I've had with all of the building for Bill. It all rapidly came together, right? And we'll talk about it in depth tomorrow on the live stream because the Friday live streams moving forward will be community build live streams where we build Bill, right? So we'll be working on tools together. We'll be ideating use cases for him. I'll be giving a summary on what I've done over the last week so everyone can stay up to date, and then we can have complete transparency in the project. And there is a much bigger picture behind Bill than I think anyone realizes right now. And you all will see the picture unfold. I'm not going to tell you guys what it is because I don't want to get ahead of myself and then have people steal the idea potentially. But there is a lot of things at play, and I would love everyone's involvement if you guys are interested in it, which last time I mentioned it, everyone seemed pretty interested in it. Let's go, Wild Africa. Let's go. Yeah. But yeah. It was really good. It was really good. And it made me really feel like all of the work I've been putting in paid off and is about to pay off in a massive, massive way. I wrote all of it down so that I could keep track of what the breakthroughs were and kind of the timeline for everything. Bill to $10. Beagle, it's not even that far off. Beagle, I think we have a very bright future ahead of us with Agent Bill, the DeSci guy. Really. Because I'll give you a little sneak peek because I can't help myself. But what I'm building for Bill does not have to stop with Bill. Does that make sense? That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Should we go to the big screen and then just chit chat like regular old folk, like good friends here? You guys can just look at the space I have, admire the fish tank so I can write it off on my taxes. You guys can see the background. That's my grandfather's painting, believe it or not. And that one. They're both my grandfather's. He's long gone. But I don't know. I feel like we're too close up. Let's go back into the desktop. Yeah. Okay. What do you guys want to chat about now? Shall we go through the market? Do you guys want to hear my concern with TLT? I think all other risk off assets are skyrocketing. Gold is going crazy. A lot of like commodity style plays in the stock market are going crazy. A lot of the defense sector, like defense in the terms of your portfolio standing, a lot of those home staples, like recession type stocks, are going crazy right now. They're all up substantially. And yet bonds, one of those safe haven investments for recession times, are crashing. And they are at some make or break it territories. Like if we break this zone of contention here, let me get this rectangle up again. I think if we break this area of contention, we're in for some deep doo-doo, because this means rates are going skyrocketing right now, which is probably why Trump put that 90-day pause on the tariffs, because rates were starting to creep up, and that's not a great thing. But rates are skyrocketing right now. Bonds are selling off when historically bonds would be skyrocketing and rates would be plummeting. So it's very, very weird. And I think that if the Fed doesn't do something here soon in the next 1 or 2 meetings, so in the next 2 to 3 months, if something doesn't change, I think we're in for some max pain. I think if Jerome does not step in to help, I think the economy is going to be in some real deep shit. And we just saw Trump go and ask the Supreme Court if he could have the authority to fire people in positions of power that are not in the government. So, for example, Jerome Powell from the Fed, Trump should have no power over Powell, but he just asked the Supreme Court if they would grant him the power to fire Jerome Powell and replace him. Now, the Supreme Court's probably going to say, bro, what are you doing? Get out of here. They're probably not going to give it to him, but the fact that he is asking for permission to get rid of Powell, indirectly, of course, it is a little bit sus. When you say TLT, all I can think about is TRT, and I assume you're juicing. Juicing with these natty gains. Yeah, natty ice. I'm just kidding. No, we do not juice. We do not juice. Although, once I probably hit 35, 40 years old and I feel my T levels dropping, I'll probably hop on some TRT. I don't see why not. Honestly, before that, because I have no plans on ever competing naturally again, that bodybuilding statue in the corner when I won my pro card, natural bodybuilding, I'll probably never get back on stage again. And so I don't think I need to worry about my natty card anymore. So I probably will end up taking some peptides and stuff like that in the not too distant future, especially if I can get some treatments for my lower back pain. That would be really nice. That would be really nice. So if I could get on some stem cells and some peptides to help with my joints I mean, all of you guys get it. Most of you guys are above 6 foot. I remember when we did the roll call for everyone's stats, most of you guys were above 6 feet. So you guys get that pain that I'm talking about. It's not pleasant. Not pleasant at all. Oh, I forgot. I have a really good thing to chat about here. How cute. No, let me see. Here we go. You guys. We got Steve the Canadian. This is Steve the Canadian. A 2-minute video. We have actual insight on how the market's gonna go. Steve the Canadian's out here making the predictions. And you know what's crazy? He is the resident perma bear, right? That's what, hopefully he's in the chat right now, but we joke around a lot because he's the resident bear for those investors, DeSci shillers, yeah? Listen closely here. Listen closely. This is key information. Let me turn the audio on.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, everyone, to another daily live stream. Let's turn the volume up.
Steve the Canadian. This guy coming at you on an absolutely beautiful evening. Just soaking up them sun rays. Oh, I'll tell you guys, my brain's been in like vacation mode the past 2 days. I'm still working, I'm still getting up, but my brain's just like, I don't want to be here. So it's not. So I'm just on like autopilot running.
You see the moon behind him?
Say hi to you guys.
Right above his head.
Twitter world, how you doing? You'll be Twitter till you die.
What's Twitter?
Yeah, it's been a heck of a week. You know, crystal ball working overtime. I'm telling you guys, this is the crypto side of it, guys. One more drop. We got one more bump down. And everybody needs to stop shitting their pants, all right? And then it's a slow grind back up, but it's back up. So stop fucking bitching, okay? You guys had to wait 7 fucking months, not even, till it's fucking back up again. So don't worry. We're shooting for 136,000. So, oh, can't put my arm up like that. But then it's straight back down again. So, I don't know. Not next week, but the week after, start accumulating the projects you like, and you'll be gold. I'm not lying to you. In regard to the world, crypto can take a side step for a second. Just batshit crazy. But I told you guys, the tariffs mean nothing. This is one big political game going on. Don't you fuckers worry about shit, okay? It means nothing. Although it means everything to the markets, they overreact in every direction, and news is a 2-week process. So we're on like almost week 4 of the tariff shit really being in effect. It's pretty much over with. So another week and a half, it'll all sort itself out. So you guys just don't worry your pretty hearts, all right? And otherwise, it's just been a beautiful Wednesday, my dudes. So I hope you guys had a great day. I hope you guys continue to have a great evening. And I'll definitely see you later. Will I? Will he? He will.
I love it. I love it. Let's go, Steve the Canadian. I don't think he's wrong at all, actually. Our views align pretty perfectly on that. The market, whenever there's news that comes out, the market usually needs digestion time, just like we do when we eat something. We need to go through a period where we digest that food. The market just got food. Now, it wasn't good food. It was like broccoli or like spinach, even though I like both of those. It was Brussels sprouts or collard greens or something, the tariff news that is. The market needs time to digest it, and that digestion usually takes a little bit of time, especially when it's hard foods like that. When it's hard news, it takes a lot more time. And so these immediate reactions are the market kind of freaking out. Over time, the market will digest that news, and we'll see. There's an old saying, and I don't know who it's from, and maybe one of you guys know who it's from. Wild Africa, I'm not doing squats right now, thank you. But they liken the stock market and news to throwing mud at a wall, right? If you got a brick wall in front of you, let me put it here, okay? You got a brick wall, and you pick up a handful of mud, and you throw it at the brick wall. At first, it's gonna stick, and it's gonna look ugly, and it's gonna be gross. You pick up some more, and you throw it at it, and it's probably gonna stick, but some will fall off. Eventually, you're gonna throw so much mud at that wall that it's just gonna slide right off and nothing will stick to it anymore. Eventually, the tariff news will get worn out and no one will give a shit about what's happening with the tariffs anymore, right? Eventually, that is what always happens. The market gets sick and tired of it. There is no more new information. There's so much shit that's been thrown at this brick wall that it just doesn't stick anymore. And so we're probably going to be getting into that period relatively soon. Now, that changes if the fundamentals behind everything start to crumble. Calendar. Market calendar. Market watch, US economic calendar. So today being the 10th, we have Thursday, April 10th. Get out of here with these pop-up ads. And we get this core CPI. We get CPI today. Oh, it already came out. Oh, okay, let's go look at it. Let us go look at it. So the actual versus forecast, right? So we're looking at, my bad for not looking at it prior, but prior we had 0.2%. The previous month over month reading was 0.2% inflation, which annualizes out to 2.4%. The market was expecting 0.1% increase, which would annualize out to 1.2% inflation, but we actually got minus 0.1%, meaning we had a month of deflation. Meaning if we were to repeat this last month over and over again, we would actually be in a deflationary environment, which is super not ideal for the market. The market hates deflation more than anything. Now, the market itself might not hate it, and market participants really enjoy it. Honestly, market participants really love deflation because it makes products cheaper. The end consumer, that is, loves deflation. However, the people in charge of the market hate deflation because it makes the debt more expensive to pay off. In a debt-driven economy, if you get deflation for a long enough period of time, you get the debt that you have to pay to become more expensive. It becomes worth more in deflationary environments. That's why they need inflation. That's why they let inflation run hot for a little bit, right? That's exactly why they let inflation run hot in 2021 and 2022, is because that is how they planned on paying off some of the debt from the money printing that they did during the COVID crisis, right? They literally were just letting inflation run hot so that it would be easier to pay off the debt. You guys get that. I don't have to reiterate it anymore, but I want to say it 3 times because you need to say stuff 3 times in order for it to hit inside people's brains. Now, if you go look at this report, and again, this is the first time I'm looking at it today, we got March being negative 0.1% month over month, which is crazy. So that shows that the inflationary pressures are not as aggressive. That is exactly what we were expecting to see. I didn't expect it in March. I expected it for the next 2 reports for April and May. I was expecting some deflation, again, because the immediate impacts of tariffs are deflation. I know that's probably not the easiest thing to wrap your head around, but everyone in December and January and even into February, everyone in these months, because Trump told us he was going to issue tariffs, everyone went out and stockpiled as much as they could because tariffs are inflationary. And then as we get those tariffs, everyone stops purchasing things and we get deflationary impacts on the market because they are just using inventory that they had accumulated prior to the inflations getting into effect, right? That makes sense. So the next couple readings will likely be very deflationary, which will be really good for the Fed's cutting rates. That makes sense? Good. I know it makes sense, but energy down dramatically. That's very interesting. We saw that they broke down a lot, the commodities for energy like oil and everything. They are rebounding now though. So the next readings probably won't have the same deflationary pressure from energy. Where is core? All items less food and energy was at 0.1. So that's good. That's nice. They thought core was going to be at 0.2 and it came in at 0.1. So that is, again, more deflationary. The core year over year was 2.8 and CPI year over year was 2.4. So that's nice. This was a good reading, in my opinion. Clearly, the market didn't like it that much. Look at that. We were starting to tick back up. Get out of here. We were starting to tick back up with inflation and then we just fell off a cliff. Again, because of these tariffs. We just fell off a cliff. Again, because of the tariffs. So that's kind of cool. I love that. I love that it played out exactly as we were expecting it to play out. Now, for the rest of this economic cycle, not right now. It's good for your back and joints, though. Thank you, Wild Africa. I shall be doing more and more squats. This food is full of them seed oils. You're spot on with that, C90. Spot on. For the rest of it, we get some people talking, some KOLs talking. And that's going to be good. I also just saw before I went live, again, I didn't look into it at all, but the budget was passed. The budget proposal was just passed from the House, I think. So that's cool. We are getting approval to spend more money. Yeah. Yeah. The PPI tomorrow is coming out at 8:30 a.m. So again, this is kind of a precursor to the inflation readings for the CPI. We've talked about that so many times. You guys understand my view on that. The PPI is kind of a leading indicator for what the CPI is going to do. Let's go look at PPI numbers. I just want a little refresher from last month's reading. How much Dynex do you have? Hundreds of thousands of Dynex tokens. So we saw with the PPI numbers for last month that they did in fact come down a lot, and we had some deflationary pressures, but the PPI was for a lower reading than the previous months. Still pretty much in this same range here, but it did sell off a lot, so that's cool. Gave you the little precursor to what CPI ended up being. And then next week we get, oh, Patrick Harker speaks. Philadelphia Fed president, the Atlanta Fed president talks again. The Atlanta Fed is an important one to pay attention to, but not the end all be all. And then we get import price index. That's going to be fascinating. I have not paid attention to this one before, so I don't know much about it, but I do think now is probably a good time to learn about it. Empire State Manufacturing Survey, that's crazy. US retail sales. This, in a couple months, will probably give us some insight as to how the United States retail shoppers are viewing the economy. Bill Nye buy bot last night got me hyped. Let's go, Zach. Let's go. Let's go. And then some jobless claims. So a little bit of activity this next rolling 10-day period, but not crazy. I wouldn't expect any significant moves from this. The only thing that's really moving the market right now is trade war information. Now let's go take a peek at the buy bot because I did not pay attention. Studio Ghibli, I love it. I want to say to you guys, because earlier this week, someone bought $2,000 worth of bill. Another person bought $1,000 worth of bill last night. Let's go. Smart buys. Smart money is moving in. I do want to say explicitly to everyone watching, thank you very much for the engagement in the bill chats. Earlier this week, and maybe it was Friday, I don't remember, Friday of last week, but sometime in the last week or so, I asked all of you guys to help me out when it comes to the community engagement and the community management for Bill. Because I've been hyper fixated on building Bill and creating the actual value proposition behind Bill, the DeSci guy. And I asked all of you guys for help with the community management and the engagement to start generating some hype again for him. And so I want to say thank you very much for that help. It means a lot to me, and it is going to actually come to fruition and really work out in everyone's favor, because ultimately, if I can provide the value in the utility behind Bill, and we all can come together to provide that hype, then we're going to get some crazy run-ups. Because a lot of crypto is reliant on public perception of what everyone else thinks. It's a lot of just follow the herd. And so if us collectively can be that voice and that herd to follow, then we are set up for really good positioning for Bill, at least. The other side of it is that once I kind of deploy everything I've been working on for Bill, and again, tomorrow we'll talk a lot more about it because tomorrow's live stream will be dedicated entirely to Bill and building out a lot of the tools together on live. But once I deploy a lot of what I've been working on in the back end, we can then start to organize some KOL rounds, right? And that I know you guys love. I know you guys get hyped around that kind of stuff. And so that's when we can really get to that side. And hopefully it corresponds with the swing up in the market for the last leg. If we look at global liquidity, which I haven't looked at in a couple days, so let's go look at it. Global liquidity. Does anyone know the ticker for the total global liquidity? But it has been skyrocketing. Yeah, here we go. Let's see if we can get this in there. It has been skyrocketing. And you guys know that Bitcoin follows global liquidity. Look at that. Look at that. So this sell-off that we're experiencing with Bitcoin right now is this. It is this right here. So global liquidity peaked out in September. Bitcoin peaked out in January. And then global liquidity tanked down to the moving averages back in January, right? And then Bitcoin is now tanking, and I believe we are right here, right? So we just had that crazy run up and then a big pullback, and I think we're in this area right here. So if we continue to follow the markets, then we should get another big rally forward. If we go overlay Bitcoin here, although before I overlay Bitcoin, I do have to, oh, welcome, Soph. Welcome into today's daily live stream. We go live Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, talk about decentralized science and the broader crypto markets. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to go close the door. I'll be right back. Hi, Soph. We got a visitor. But if we go overlay Bitcoin on a new price scale, you'll see the correlation here. Does anyone know how to offset the date scale and the date for it? If not, that's okay. But I'm going to try and show you guys what I mean, okay? So global liquidity is the bar chart. Most of you guys have already seen this, but I want to just highlight it to you and iterate it again. All right. And why did you come in if you don't want to be a part of it? When did global liquidity peak out? Global liquidity peaked out here in September. And then we had the price of Bitcoin peak out 112 days later in January. Global liquidity bottomed here in November and then reached all-time highs again 100 days after in March, right? So it's about 100 to 120 days offset. And you can go back for the last like 6 months or so, it's been behaving like that, where Bitcoin has just been following global liquidity. And so especially where the markets are starting to print a lot of money, right? A lot of economic conditions are starting to ease up globally because of these fears of recession and these fears with the trade wars and everything. And so you come look at Bitcoin, and I believe personally that, let me show you a little bit closer in. Personally speaking, and you got to play with your imagination here, I believe that this brush was the first bottom and this was the second bottom for liquidity. I think for Bitcoin, this was the first bottom and this was the second bottom, okay? The reason I believe that is because this kind of acted just like a wick down to liquidate everyone, you know? This was a wick in Bitcoin's price to liquidate everyone who went long during this last bottoming area. And you go look at this and you zoom forward 100 days, you get the first dip, and you go from the second dip and you zoom forward and you got 85 days. So maybe we got a little bit more time before we actually see that bottom, but I think we're very much in the middle of it right now. And so then if we take the same thought process, okay? We take the same thought process and move forward on the price of Bitcoin by 100 days. You put us out in July. So come July, I think we will be making incremental higher highs. Maybe it'll look like a big double top, but I think come July, we'll be pushing higher highs on Bitcoin, and hopefully the rest of the market can follow. And again, also hopefully the Fed will have stopped QT, lowered some interest rates in accordance with the market demands, and will actually get dominance to start falling at the same time, because dominance for Bitcoin goes up as long as QT is still active and will come down when QE starts to become more of a topic, right? And so that's my take on the next 3 months, 4 months of the market. I think we're in the middle of a bottoming out process. So if you got to stop. You're either in or you're out, Soph. That's my take on it. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. I think it has a lot of logic behind it, but honestly, it's anyone's best guess right now as to what's actually going to end up playing out. So there's a lot going on right now. She is very active in this exact moment. It's a big fishy. Huh? Okay, so I just spoke a lot, and my brain was only like 30% paying attention to what I was saying. So can I get some ones in the chat if you understood, and some zeros in the chat if you want me to kind of go over it again? You want me to give a quicker version? Sophie is hyped right now. Sophie is so excited for market bottoming activities. She's hyped because people keep going in and out of the door out there, and I think she wants to be outside with them all, but nobody's letting her out because they're all actually about to leave, not go for WALKs. But I know most of you guys should be familiar with this because it's been floating all over the internet, and it's honestly proven to be very reliable, where if you offset Bitcoin by about 3 to 4 months from global liquidity, then you get to see what Bitcoin is likely to do, which yes, okay, everyone's spamming one, so thank you all. Derek, welcome. So thank you all. That puts us again in July-ish for another topping period for Bitcoin. And then depending on what global liquidity ends up doing from here, where it looks like it's about to start breaking out again, we could get an incremental high for Bitcoin. We might actually get that crazy blow off top at the end of 2025. Granted that nobody tanks the entire economy, right? Wild Africa, in summary, Bitcoin was created to be a sponge for global liquidity and an excess of monetary policy. That wasn't exactly what it was created for, but that is a big part of it. And that's what has been proven to be its main purpose so far, is just to soak up the global liquidity. And so global liquidity takes some time. The money takes some time to find its way to risk on assets. Like when they print $1 and give it to a bank, and the bank lends it to someone who needs a home loan, and that person with the home loan goes and puts it into construction to add a deck to their house, and then the person who has the deck, the person who's got the construction company pays their employees with that money. Those employees go and buy some groceries, and then the grocery store owner goes and invests it into Bitcoin, right? It takes a little bit of time for the dollar to find its way into the market. And so that's basically what this is showing you, is that it's taking 3 to 4 months for those dollars to find their way into Bitcoin. And so hopefully that's what plays out. And if that is what plays out, then we are in for a really fun time in the market, which is kind of interesting because usually the saying is sell in May and go away. And we are 1 to 3 weeks away from May. So usually you don't get a crazy good time in the market from May until like August. Over that summertime, all the finance bros go on vacation. I think it might be a little bit different this time because of how nervous everyone is for their market. They might not be willing to go on those vacations. They might just stick around and keep being market participants. Of course, Wild Africa, hell yeah. And thank you, Derek, for showing up to the live stream. I really appreciate it. So I think we might get a little bit of a different play this year, where people don't sell in May and go away. And in fact, people stay in the market, and we do get some bullish rallies. Now, in this next rally, okay, I don't have a crystal ball. If I did, I wouldn't be here with you guys, likely. Or maybe I would, who knows. But I don't have a crystal ball, so my guess, what I'm about to say right now, should not be taken as a fortune-telling event, right? But this rally, this next rally that we get, let me go ahead and get rid of some of this stuff. This next rally that we get in the price of Bitcoin and the price of our crypto altcoins, I believe it's going to be the last one for the cycle. Okay? I believe it's going to be the last one for the cycle. So I'm still going to maintain my position that Bitcoin is going to come up to 150,000-ish, 150 to 160, all right? But I think that's going to be it. Now, when we start to see Bitcoin slow down in its price appreciation, so for example, you get some activities like this. This is actually a perfect one. This is actually perfect. When we see the rally, the strong aggressive rally push up, right? And everyone's making money and it looks like everything's going to be beautiful. And then we get a big pullback and we consolidate for a period of time. When we then get that next push, I would get out. I would get out. When we are consolidating like this, in this area right here, I would get out. In my opinion, that's at least what I'm going to do. It's not personalized financial advice. Do whatever you want, but that's likely what I'll end up doing. Even if what happens is that we get that first little bounce, we pull back and we skyrocket up even higher. Even if that's what ends up happening, I don't think this is going to maintain its structure. I think we have a big tank. Okay. And so if I end up selling into this right here, I did not like that. If I end up selling into this, right? And then Bitcoin continues to rally and goes another 20% higher, and I miss out on 20 to 50% gains in my bags, I'm not going to beat myself up over it, because even though it's been super painful this whole cycle, I think we can look at it objectively and kind of learn from what we've seen happen this cycle. And that is that when everything starts to pump, okay, when all of our bags start going just straight up and it looks like we're finally going to get an alt season, the party's cut short, because fundamentally this cycle has been different. The economy's not been in the same position that it's been in previously. We have not had the same type of altcoin rallies that we had in previous cycles. We have not had the same monetary policy as we've had in the other cycles. This rally, this entire cycle has been very different, and it's been very hard to adapt to, at least for me. I've been left like, what will end up happening, because we all have those good practices. And let me know, give a 1 in the chat if you guys have experienced this same type of behavior. But what will end up happening is we get that first run up and I take my initials out of my bags and I take some good gains. I take some good profits, right? And then I rotate into the next round of pre-sales, and I rotate into the next thing I think is going to pop off, and I rotate into the next hot narrative, and I get demolished. I put 5 grand, 10 grand, 20 grand into the next one, thinking it's going to also 10, 20, 50x, and it doesn't. And that sucks. That is super painful. And it's now happened once, twice, 3 times. If we do get a 4th time, I am not letting it happen this time. I'm not. I'm simply taking the money and I'm putting it into cash. I'm putting it in my savings account, and I'm just going to stare at it. I'm just going to stare at those zeros. And I'm going to say to myself, I'm going to say, wow, I have a lot of money, but I could have even more if I put it back in. And then I'll probably put it all back in, because it is a sickness. Someone give me the gambling hotline, please. I know you guys have done it too, because I listen to you guys complain. I know all of you guys have done it, right? You make good gains, you take some profits, because we're not degens, we're not gamblers. We're investors. We know what we're doing. And then we go and invest in the next big thing, and then the cycle has been super painful. It's been incredibly painful. And so this next rally, if we do get this next leg up and we do get a Q4 2025 top, like I think we might. I think it might honestly happen in Q3. I think it might happen in Q3, right? Where if we start breaking all-time highs in July, right? If we start breaking all-time highs for Bitcoin and a lot of our altcoins in July, we might get that run into July and August, maybe September. We're topping out in September-ish, and then it's it, I think. Personally, unless we'll pay attention, and if things change dramatically, like the Fed all of a sudden starts printing crazy money and they cut rates to 0 and blah, 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 all the same signals that we would be looking for, I will leave some money in the market and I'll pay attention and potentially try and time it for later in the year. But if we I'm not going to bank everything on it being a normal cycle, because it hasn't been. It hasn't been at all. Bio went from 15K to 1K. Oh my God, Wild Africa. Yeah. Buy a big tank for sharks. You know you don't need a big tank for sharks. You can actually get these little tiny sharks. They're called rainbow sharks, and they're like 3-4 inches long. And you can actually get little baby rainbow sharks or red tail sharks. And so I might low-key put it, no, actually I want shrimp, so I'm not going to put a shark in there, but I could put a shark. Right now there is one loach and there is one common fish, and I ordered snails in the mail, so the snails will be there to keep cleaning the walls. They are going to be the bottom feeders that clean up after the fish. But yeah, that's my game plan. That is my game plan. And then, you know what's going to happen? Airdrop, so it's okay. Let's go, Wild Africa. That is effectively free money. That $1,000 is still there. That is money that you got from an airdrop, right? That's bullish. That is awesome. Now, here's my plan moving forward from that, okay? I do get a mantis shrimp. That would be crazy. Or one of those bullet shrimp. Snapping shrimp or whatever they're called. Here's my plan. I do believe full-heartedly that we have one leg left in this cycle. I do think that full-heartedly, because it's just been whiplashing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So we get that next rally upwards. I take the money, regardless as to what it is. Expectations to the side. Everyone in this cycle expected to be multimillionaires at the end of it, and that would be cool if it happens, okay? Expectations to the side. I'm taking probably 70% of my money out of the market, because I don't want to take all of it just in case we do get that mega cycle and everything does go straight up, and I don't want to be the one who's like, oh, I sold before we got that crazy blow off top. So I'll probably leave like 20 to 25% in the market at all times, but taking 75% out to cash. And I'm dead serious. I'm putting it in a bank account, and I'm going to stare at it for the next month to 3 months, because I want to get my mental psyche adjusted to having money in my account. Because the money that I have had has been tied to volatile assets in crypto accounts. I want it tied to a stable asset in my bank account. After I feel like I've gotten accustomed to that new level of monetary value, I will start to pick out good investments to put it in. And I'm going to build out my long-term portfolio once again. And this time it's not going to be 100% crypto. It will likely be 25 crypto, or like 25 to 30% crypto, 25, 30% stocks, and then the rest real estate. We'll see exactly how I plan out doing it when that time does come, but I really would appreciate all of you guys sticking through it with me and exploring what comes after the cycle. Because I do think after this cycle is over, we get a crazy mega crash. I think it is overdue for a global debt reset. I think a lot of you guys agree with me on that. And that type of a picture, let's say we get something that looks like that, right? That type of a crash is not just one of these little ones that goes like this. It is something that looks like this. Okay? That type of crash is not a normal one. We've never seen Bitcoin go through it. We have never seen crypto go through it. So we're kind of playing with fire here. But I think we will end up playing with fire and not burning ourselves. I also, remember, I also want to start those investors' VC firm. When startup companies are looking for VC money, I want people to be like, oh, just go ask that investor. Come on, that goes hard. That goes hard. And I found out why. You know what I found out, actually? Let me go off of this and go to my face. You know what I found out, actually? Let me take a sip of water. After cycle, all on black. Let's go. Just need Noble to get to 10 to 20 cents. I think Noble goes to all-time highs again, and I will keep saying that. I will stay on that. Noble goes to all-time highs again. Dynex $1 is FUD. Dynex is going beyond $10. Dynex, I think, has a good shot at going to $100. I don't know the time frame on that one, but I do think it goes higher. Dynex, $1 is FUD, although right now I would appreciate it. What was I going to say? Oh, you know what I found out? You know Y Combinator? I know you guys know what Y Combinator is. It's the number one or the most well-known VC firm out of Silicon Valley. So they fund a lot of tech startups and early day startups. You know, they started with $200,000. How crazy is that? You don't actually need as much money as I thought you needed to start an investment firm. You know, Boost VC with Adam Draper, they started with $500,000. A lot more, yes, and a good chunk of money, but not what I thought it took. I thought it was millions of dollars needed to start. And so next cycle, my plan is to be that investor, the VC firm, that investor, and be able to write these checks to people who are in similar positions to what I am in right now. People who have the drive and the dedication and an idea to create these valuable companies, but lack the resources, right? Hopefully I can pull on my connections to help them. Kind of what I'm doing right now, where I'm an advisor for things like Noble and Poseidon and KongSwap, right? These companies that are startups that need help with stuff, and I offer those services to those people, right? Unfortunately, like Noble Blocks, they only listen to me so much. Poseidon DAO has been amazing to work with. KongSwap, I'm really just there to provide some feedback. They kind of have the whole ship under control. Same with Poseidon for the most part. They're really good. They've got everything under control. We just have probably once a month calls to talk about marketing tactics and everything, but it's really been fun and it's sharpening my skill set, sharpening those knives. So I would love to be able to be that person, but yeah, there you have it. That's my plan. And it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. Yes, sir. All right. Let me delete these drawings. See if you guys got any questions. Facts Beagle. Let's go. Breaking IMO. Trump is asking the Supreme Court if he can fire Jerome Powell. I know. We talked about that for seconds, Zaj. He's asking the Supreme Court if he can remove people from positions of power in non-government agencies. I know I'm giving it a weird synopsis on that, but Trump is effectively asking if he can fire Jerome Powell, which is crazy. I don't know if it's super bad if it happens. I think it's going to shake up the market like crazy because the market knows how to read Jerome Powell. I know he doesn't have the ability to, and I think the Supreme Court's going to tell him that. But right now, even if the market doesn't agree with what Jerome Powell does and they would like him to print money, even if that is the case, I'm not even saying that's the case, but right now, the market knows how to read Jerome Powell. If Trump in this moment were to replace him with someone else, it would add another layer of uncertainty to the market. And the market hates uncertainty. So if they replace Jerome Powell, I think it will be a net negative in the short term. We'll have to learn how to read that person again. And it might take an entire economic cycle. It might take 3 years before we feel confident. So I don't know what to expect with that one, but it is quite interesting. I'll leave you off with this little bit of hopium. We, on Saturday, enter into the next full moon phase. And the full moon phases have corresponded to local bottoms in the market. So on Saturday, we get another full moon. Maybe we sell off into the full moon and then get some rallying. And I hope in this next rally, we have enough strength to break above this big resistance line and ideally get back above the dotted line that I have on this chart. We will see in due time. Speaking of time, it happens to be your most valuable asset. Hopefully this was worth investing it into. I appreciate all of you guys being here with me, and I will see you in tomorrow's live stream, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we will be building Bill and talking about strategy.